All right, you've convinced me.
A singular peppermint candy.
I never finished Pikmin! So I just randomly unearthed an ancient memory. Apparently, one of the first games that I ever played was, in fact, the original Pikmin. And that revelation by itself would have been fine and dandy, but I also realized that I never actually finished it. Yeah, as you can imagine, if you get handed a strategy puzzle game when you aren't yet capable of critical thought, you have a rough time. But now, being that I am slightly taller and significantly smarter than I was back then, I suppose it's as good a time as any for me to finish what my younger self could not. So, I start up the game on my very real GameCube by creating my save file on a brand new memory card that I definitely purchased just for this and didn't delete my sister's Animal Crossing Village off of. The game begins with Olimar getting absolutely bodied by a meteor, and his ship busting open like a piñata. And, before you know it, day one begins with us waking up at the impact site, where I wander around for a bit with my FOV set to 5 before I stumble across the red onion, which sets itself up like a tripod before sneezing out a single seedling. Then the seedling grows rapidly into a weird, undulating plant. And of course, Olimar's first instinct is to grab it. He's just a little guy. That he is. That he is. And we can make him do our bidding. So I immediately get to work amassing pellets because this is far from my first rodeo. And after I accrue enough Pikmin to push
Big box.
and solve the first puzzle, I instantly find my first ship part, which is the engine. How convenient. Too convenient. I return the engine to the ship, which causes it to literally flip out, and just like that, the tutorial that is day one draws to an end. The Pikmin follow me into space at night because they're cowards, and a new area gets unlocked on the map screen, allowing the real game to begin. Day 2 starts with us landing in said new area, the Forest of Hope. After doing some basic Pikmin gathering and wall destroying, I accidentally get into my first battle with the local wildlife. And apparently I'm underleveled for this fight because his AC is through the roof and I can't land a single Pikmin. The second Bulborb ends up being free XP though. I then decide to engage the two dwarf Bulborbs in solo fisticuffs to establish dominance. After besting them in the Ring of Honor, I harvest their bodies to amass a large quantity of Pikmin that I use to subdue the largest Bulborb while it is still asleep. Then, while gathering the spoils of war, I finally walk up to and swiftly recover the Eternal Fuel Dynamo. And not long after that, I venture out again and quickly discover the Yellow Onion and promptly pluck my first yellow Pikmin. It's kind of like a red Pikmin, but not. I don't know how else to explain it. Then the game warns me for the first and only time that I cannot have more than 100 Pikmin on the field, just before I not only discover bomb rocks, but then also instantly make a severe miscalculation. For everyone keeping track at home, that is the first time that I've lost any Pikmin this playthrough. And it's my own stupidity that's to blame. Because of course it is. I happen to find the whimsical radar just as day 2 draws to an end, and I also managed to collect it just before takeoff. Later that night, Olimar laments not having his radar.
What do you mean?
Day 3 has us heading right back into the so-called hopeful forest, where I meander aimlessly for a while before I both stumble across and soon collect a new ship part, the extraordinary bolt. Kinda looks more like it's just an exemplary bolt to me, but what do I know? And not long after that, I come across my second ship part for the day, the Nova Blaster. Then, while attempting to bring both that and some other spoils back, my own incompetence ruins me once again. I'm full!
Good job, dumbass.
It's only then that I'm allowed to collect what little remains of my dignity, and the Nova Blaster too, the latter of which causes the ship to get all sparkly. Meaning, of course, that, right after Day 3 draws to an end, we unlock yet another area on the map, which just so happens to be my favorite area, and as such we will go there immediately. And so Day 4 begins in the Forest Navel. Man, Olimar really needs to pick up a thesaurus. Everything is a forest to this guy. Near instantly I find and pluck my first blue Pikmin. And while building up the numbers of my new blue buds, the bread bug just kinda saunters over. You see, the bread bug is an annoying enemy that tries to steal things from you. But if you beat it in a game of tug-of-war, it also has a ship part, the Space Float. After killing many fiery blowhogs, or little hog things that blow fire, pretty self-explanatory, I see myself taking a bountiful harvest of bodies back to base when I come across yet more blowhogs, with almost no Pikmin to fight them. Then the game warns me for the second and only time that I cannot have more than 100 Pikmin on the field, right as Day 4 draws to an end. Which brings us to Day 5, where we land in the Forest Navel again. And the first thing that I do is get the Space Float that I forgot the day prior. I then come across and decide on a whim to battle the Puff Stool. I mean, look at this thing. How hard could it be? Oh. Like any good leader, I quickly abandon my army and flee for my life. But apparently I can't even do that right.
Get over the ledge, Olimar!
After my tactical retreat, I gather more Pikmin and rejoin the fight, just for things to keep going a similar amount of bad. But I do eventually triumph over the Puff Stool, and get my hands on the Omega Stabilizer it had inside it. Although I do have to play decoy again just to recover the bloody thing. And with that, Day 5 draws to an end. On Day 6, we once again return to the Forest Navel, where I immediately spot not just one, but 2 ship parts, and I soon get to check both the number 1 Ionian jet and the automatic gear off of the part list. I even come across a 3rd ship part, but, well...
Kinda doesn't feel like the intended method.
Oh, it isn't. But that doesn't matter because it works anyway. Which means I get to collect my 3rd ship part in just this one day, the Gravity Jumper. I also discover that this little area just so happens to be the only place you can find bomb rocks on this entire bloody map. I make an attempt to build the bridge so that I can use these bomb rocks first thing tomorrow, but that idea is in vain because I get there just as Day 6 draws to an end. And apparently Olimar thinks that I need to be retaught how to play the game. Fuck you. On Day 7, I head back to the Forest of Hope. Because, quite frankly, I can't go back to the Forest Navel right now. I'm too emotionally vulnerable. While I'm here, I was hoping to collect all the remaining ship parts in this area, but I ended up needing to spend like half of the day building these goddamn bridges just to collect this one part. And of course that couldn't even be done without its own complications.
He's dead.
It was certainly far from efficient.
I'm just gonna ignore his screams.
But I did get the Sagittarius in the end. Though because that literally did take up half the day, I opt to just clear the area of enemies so I can more freely collect all the remaining parts tomorrow. Oh, also, this happens.
One stray red Pikmin just had to ruin everything.
So, yeah. Thanks for getting 35 of your kin killed, Steven. Then, as day 7 draws to an end, I realized last second that these blue Pikmin are screwed. Day 8 starts with me going back to the impact site. Because not only did I just lose most of my blue Pikmin, and it is really easy to farm Pikmin here, but there's one more ship part here that we're gonna need to get eventually, so... As I'm recovering from my losses, the game warns me for the third and only time that I cannot have more than 100 Pikmin on the field. And after I deem my Pikmin population sufficiently increased, I head towards the ship part, where the first and greatest hurdle to overcome is simply trying to get my Pikmin up this goddamn ramp! And when I finally do get up there, I come face to face with the fearsome Mamuda, who just likes flowers and is largely harmless. And now he's dead. I can now access this little lake back here, where I have to slowly free the Positon generator from this stupid clam before I can collect it, which I barely managed to do before day 8 draws to an end. But I did somehow manage it. After that, the ship does another magical girl transformation, and I unlock yet another new area, the Distant Spring. But I don't head there quite yet because I never made it that far as a kid, and I'd like to tie up loose ends in the other areas first. Which means that day 9 has us going back to the Forest of Hope, where the first thing that I do is gather an army of my pointiest picks, with the intention of claiming the ship parts guarded by boss fights first and foremost, as they will likely be the most time-consuming to get. So I approach the armored cannon beetle with confidence, as I have faced this boss many times before, and know exactly what to do. All I need to do is throw a Pikmin into... Well, let's never speak of this again. Shortly after I pick up and recover the radiation canopy, I begin to make my way towards the next boss arena, though it appears that my next challenge won't be a boss, but an obstacle, in the form of this accursed land bridge. The pathing in this game sucks! I am then met with my next foe, the burrowing snagret. Oh, I'm sorry, burrowing snagrets. Plural. At least there are only 2 of them. Dear God, why? Yeah, even just one of these things sucks to battle, and the game throws 3 of them at you. And of course, it's the last one with the ship part, and that ship part would be the Geiger counter, which Olimar claims is useless. After collecting that useless doohickey, I suddenly learn how to do basic math.
There's another area? Wait, 1450, that's 29 pieces. There's another area in this game?
And day 7 draws to an end. But not before I clear the path to the shock absorber. Speaking of, day 10 starts with us heading right back to the Forest of Hope, where I realize that I should probably schedule a therapy appointment and get that blasted shock absorber. And that's it. That's all we came here for, so I choose to just end the day early. So I turn the sun off and day 10 draws to an end. On day 11, we return to the Forest Naval. And on my way to a ship part, a Wollywog uses a fiery blowhog as bait and kills 20 of my Pikmin. And when I ultimately reach the anti-dioxin filter, I find myself needing to play decoy again. And it's proving to be quite the valid strategy. That's another ship part down. I then choose to spend the rest of the day finally using these bomb rocks we found to knock down all of these pesky walls. I refuse to take responsibility for that. And with that OSHA violation, Day 11 draws to an end. Day 12 lands us yet again in the Forest Navel, where things start off with a bang. And I'd really prefer that they didn't. Alright, someone should really just take these things away from me. The Pikmin are going to start a union at this rate. I then expertly navigate through these fire geysers to reach the analog computer. Oh god, Almars, now is not the time! What is wrong with the text? And while that is being hauled back, I cross this chasm and find myself mysteriously short of enough yellow Pikmin to bring this other part down. I have no idea how that happened, so I guess I just have to run all the way back to base, where I arrive just in time to witness the collection of the analog computer before replenishing my yellow Pikmin supply and skedaddling my way back. I bring down the Libra and frustratingly discover that I was a single Pikmin shy of not having to run all the way back to base. Regardless, I bring back the Libra and then use what little daylight remains to at least investigate what challenge awaits me tomorrow. Okay. And with that jump scare, Day 12 draws to an end. Day 13 marks our final foray into the Forest Navel, where I immediately charge headfirst into the Beady Longlegs boss fight, which actually goes quite well.
Pretty confident that most of you are going to die.
As long as you ignore the casualties. We bust open the living piñata and make a mad dash with the treat inside.
Stop being on fire, dude. Works every time.
We recover the guard satellite and I end the day early. So Day 13 draws to an end. And I can now venture into an area that I don't think I even managed to unlock in my youth. The Distant Spring. Which means that Day 14, at long last, sees us landing in some sort of spring-like forest. Being that this region is new to me, I start out by scouting the area. And in doing so, I find...
Egg. That's a boss.
Which I promptly ignore for now and ultimately forget about for the rest of the playthrough. After I finish getting my bearings and upsetting the balance of the local ecosystem, the game warns me for the fourth and only time that I cannot have more than 100 Pikmin on the field. And after I finish bolstering my blue Pikmin population, I finally make my way to the Gluon Drive, which I swiftly collect. Soon thereafter, I also find the Repair-type Bolt, which, right before Day 14 draws to an end, I also manage to collect. Just barely in time. On Day 15, we return to the Distant Spring, where I clear a path to the all-important massage machine, which I'm sure is absolutely required to get home. And after collecting that sorry excuse for a tax write-off, I discover that a snitch bug has been hovering around my base just planting Pikmin for who knows how long. First try. I then wade my way toward another ship part, which is inside this annoying, puffy, blowy bastard. But, unluckily for him, I've played Bloon's tower defense. The interstellar radio drops from the sky, and I'm able to recover it right before Day 15 draws to an end. On Day 16, we return to the Distant Spring, where, after I find the pilot seat just kinda sitting there, and also easily reach the zirconium rotor not much further away, I start feeling like I could get at least 3 ship parts today, given the fact that I've already gotten 2. So I determine my next task to be clearing this area of enemies, in the hopes of making this part here my 3rd of the day. But since this part also looks pretty easy to get, I choose instead to run some other errands while the day is still young, like building a bridge incorrectly. Again. And by the time I return from that detour, there is barely enough time to make even one attempt on this part.
This goes wrong in any way, I need to abort.
And then it does. And I do. And day 16 draws to an end. On day 17, we return to the distant spring, where I use the bridge that I built incorrectly the other day to reach yet another armored cannon beetle, and this time I two-cycle the bloody thing. I nab the bowsprit from his corpse and run into a bit of a roadblock trying to bring it back.
Oh.
Then one of my Pikmin randomly disappears. And while I do realize in the moment that I had somehow lost a Pikmin,
I just had 100. The yellow Pikmin are getting killed or something.
I come to the wrong conclusion. Because not only does that appear to not be the case from a distance, but when I rendezvous with my yellow Pikmin, I do, in fact, still have 50 of them. So I guess one of my reds just randomly fell through the ground, or something. Whatever the case may be, my next course of action is to return to this blasted puzzle. Which proves to be much less a puzzle and much more a test of how well you can work your way around janky Pikmin pathing. After an agonizing 2 minutes, we finally get the UV lamp down. Yeah, there really was no chance at me getting this part yesterday, was there? I then choose to spend the rest of the day clearing the path between the remaining ship parts and home base. That endeavor entails murdering these dwarf bull bears, fleeing from their mother, right into a pond, reuniting their family in hell, and watching this puffy blow bitch send my Pikmin into orbit. All in the name of making tomorrow a much easier, much more straightforward day. And don't worry, I only mostly forgot about the bowsprit.
Wait a minute!
I then use the last moments of the day to investigate the first of tomorrow's puzzles. And by the time I begin to finally understand what it is I'm meant to do, I get rudely interrupted by the collection of the bowsprit. And soon, day 17 draws to an end. Day 18 marks our last godforsaken day in the distant spring. I mean, I love this area. I give it an, it's okay, out of 10. Of course, my first order of business is to return to this puzzle. It's not very complicated, just tedious. Toss blue Pikmin up here, use this candy pop bud to turn them into yellow Pikmin, toss those over to this beach, and up to the part. Then, after the Chronos reactor comes down, turn your yellow Pikmin back to blue and have them carry the part back. Like I said, not complicated, just tedious. The last part in this area is very, very easy to get. You literally just throw blue Pikmin up here, ride the geyser up, and throw those blue Pikmin again. It's truly a complex conundrum. We collect the number 2 Ionium Jet, and that's the last part in the distant spring. It's about fucking time! The ship ascends to its final form, and I have no further loose ends to tie up here. Yeah, I get to just relax for once, and just watch the Pikmin stand around and be cute.
I am not worried, game. I'm missing one guy. Slight panic!
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Are you proud of yourself? Listen here, you little shit.
And day 18 draws to an end. And I unlock the true last area. The final trial. Day 19, of course, has us heading straight for the final trial. And just what is our final trial? Well, You need to lead blue Pikmin through the water to build some bridges, throw yellow Pikmin so that they can grab some bomb rocks to blow up a wall, and lead some red Pikmin around and through some fire geysers to push a box. And lastly, you face off against the final boss. But since I don't know what exactly that fight will entail, I decide to just go purely for power, taking only red Pikmin for their superior damage.
George can stay.
Well, almost only red Pikmin. I then give my small army a quick motivational speech.
All right, men. Let's do this.
I then step into the arena. George and I both approach the ominous creature in the center and the Emperor Bulblax's fight begins. Luckily, neither George nor I sustain any real damage. I choose to keep my distance at first and assess my situation, looking for some sort of opening. Bingo. I don't know about you guys, but to me that looked like an opportunity to strategically sacrifice some bomb Pikmin. And so I return to base and swap 5 red Pikmin out for 5 yellow Pikmin, and I begin to equip them all with all the bomb rocks I can find, which is 3.
Better hope I can 3-cycle him.
Yeah, well, we could have had 5 past me, but...
Warning, the following gameplay is incredibly stupid. Simply watching it could threaten your credibility as a gamer. Viewer discretion is advised.
What, he didn't eat the bomb? Warm his legs. Swarming his legs is a bad idea. Swarming his legs is a bad idea. Oh no, we lost George. Swarming his legs is a terrible idea. Whoever suggested that idea, you're an idiot.
It's me. I'm the idiot. While I'm back at base recovering from my most recent blunder, I come to the conclusion that
I think the yellow Pikmin threw the bomb, which would be the wise thing to do, but it did not appear to stun him.
I promptly go to prove that theory, and yes, it appears that feeding him bomb rocks is the intended route. It's just a shame that I didn't whistle my Pikmin back fast enough after I swarmed him.
It was at this moment.
Really bad at this fight.
Unfortunately for the both of us past me, that's an understatement. But luckily for past me, we have something now that my younger self never even dreamt of having. A complete lack of integrity. Yeah, I just reload the day like the coward that I am. But the good news is that this means, canonically, George is not dead. Day 19 starts, again, with us heading to the final trial. This time, I decide to just do the puzzle correctly, opting to get the bomb Pikmin shit done first. So I get all the bombs, set aside 3 of them, and throw the rest off to the side for future me to collect.
Appears as though if I throw them and blow my whistle, they drop their bombs. I gotta make sure to walk into those guys.
Day 19 starts as all Day 19s do, by attempting to solve a mental fortitude test disguised as a puzzle.
Slight ledge is like the bane of my existence.
Although this time I'm actually able to complete it. And so, after spending way too much time juggling bomb rocks, I get my long-awaited second real chance to fight the final boss. And we all know it wouldn't be a real Emperor Bullblax fight without another severe lapse in judgment. After that, nothing all too interesting happens for quite a while. Lots of standard back and forth. I feed him a bomb, swarm him to take off a fraction of his health. He flattens a few stragglers because Pikmin are stupid. The usual. I mean, I discovered that there are many more bomb rocks on the cliffs surrounding the arena. So that's cool, I guess. But then Emperor Bull Bitch has the gall to pull this horse piss.
Oh. Okay.
I say it's okay, but it's not okay. The threat of the day's end looms over me while I frantically throw all I have against this behemoth, who still has 2/5 of his health even after all that I've done. And as day 19 draws to an end, I begrudgingly resign myself for the night, hoping to high hell that he doesn't heal by morning. And even if he does, at least I can take some solace in the fact that I won't have to solve the fucking puzzle again tomorrow. And tomorrow it is, as day 20 dawns at last. I quickly place a few sentient landmines around the arena, and waste no further time throwing myself back in the fray.
Oh, his health bar's full? Are you kidding me?
That isn't even the best part past me. Little do you know that you are also about to get hurt by a bomb exploding from inside the boss's mouth, and once again fall victim to the classic blunder. Ooh, and then the back and forth starts again. The eternal cycle where I chip the smallest bit of health off him at a time, all the while slowly bleeding away my Pikmin population. This is what goes on for the next 10 minutes. And my reward for this torture is getting burped on a second time and watching him smash all of my Pikmin mere seconds before the day ends, with only a sliver of his health remaining. My only reaction to this is to breathe out a single quieted sigh and to reset. Day 20 is starting to feel like day 19 part 2 already. I hate that. And worse yet, this time around the mistakes start extra early, as I pivot to the strategy of using only yellow Pikmin for some reason. Yeah, I think that my rationale at the time was that yellow Pikmin have a higher throw height, which in turn means that I can land them on the boss's face much easier, so I can consistently keep throwing yellow Pikmin on his face for more consistent damage. But that's just a worse plan of attack in every single way. Not only is throwing one Pikmin at a time onto the boss's face just a dumb means of doing damage, primarily because he'll just shake them off after a second anyway, but also because it does significantly less damage than just stunning him with a bomb and swarming him for a couple seconds. Combine that with the fact that yellow Pikmin do less damage than red Pikmin in the first place, and you're looking at a choice between doing the damage of a handful of Pikmin every second, or doing the damage of what is effectively over 100 Pikmin all at once during a couple seconds, every couple seconds. I think that choice makes itself, and yet I chose the former. Like the bonehead that I am. Honestly, I think I just didn't want any chance of falling victim to the classic blunder yet again. And in exchange for my apprehension, I spend the next few agonizing minutes doing barely any damage whatsoever, culminating in a moment that proves to me that there is a god and that she hates me, as I get introduced to a newer, even fresher hell through some sort of twisted divine intervention.
Oh my god, are you serious, bro?
Which I guess was a blessing in disguise, because it makes for the perfect opportunity to pivot back to the correct strategy of just using red Pikmin. And, to nobody's surprise but my own, it proves to be more effective, even if it's still pretty slow going. A whole 3 minutes pass before anything worthy of note occurs. But that's in large part because I'm still playing like a coward and just outright refusing to swarm the boss. Except at the very end, when he is not but on a sliver of health as the sun starts to set and I get haunting flashbacks to my last attempt, which causes me to swarm him out of desperation. I turn around, searching desperately for more Pikmin to throw into the meat grinder, and I turn back to see that my Pikmin killed him while I wasn't looking. I'm okay with this. But, alas, I'm only allowed to lay my eyes on the secret safe, as I don't even have enough time to collect it before day 20 draws to an end. The 21st day feels to me like a rainbow after a typhoon.
You guys ready for a harrowing day?
I say, knowing that carrying one last ship part is all that stands between me and finally finishing this game. And I do. And it was. With his ship fully repaired, Olimar takes one last look at the Pikmin before he and they go their separate ways. He takes off back into space towards his home, and the Pikmin use what he had taught them to survive on their own. And as he escapes from the planet's atmosphere, many onions can be seen flying behind him, for a moment almost seeming as if they might follow him into the stars, but in actuality simply taking refuge from the nocturnal predators below. As he charts his course for home, he can't help but take one final look back at the planet that imprisoned him, watching it grow farther and farther away, before turning forward again to face his long journey home. And that was Pikmin. And I finished it 100%. Something my younger self could only ever dream of. Except that wasn't quite everything. There are 2 bosses that I never fought during my main playthrough, and it wouldn't be very diligent of me to simply ignore them. So, in the impact site, the Mamuta can be encountered on even-numbered days, starting from day 8. Which is, of course, the day that we encountered it, as early as possible. But also, starting from day 9, a different boss appears on odd-numbered days, the Gulix. It's a weird, sentient water droplet that kinda just oozes around, making it the perfect prey for blue Pikmin. And I would have fought it during the main playthrough, but I mostly kinda just forgot about it. I mean, when I was younger, I probably faced it plenty of times, near as many as the Mamuta, I'm sure. But it's only the Mamuta I have any memories of. The Gulix just lacks that same memorable charm. Anyway, as you can see, the easiest way to kill it is to clack its balls together, as it is for most ball-having things. And lastly, as you may recall, on day 14 I stumbled across a certain egg.
Egg?
You know, the thing I correctly identified as a boss and swiftly forgot about for the rest of the playthrough, but assured you with post-commentary that I would revisit later? Well, now is later. I approach the
Big egg.
The egg breaks and out comes the Smoky Prog, which many Pikmin veterans seem to insist is the most terrifying creature ever designed, but I don't see it. I suppose it probably is the most unnerving enemy in this E-rated game, but I can't say it strikes fear into my soul. Not only is it kinda cute the more I look at it, but its mannerisms are far from menacing. And as for the fight itself, well, I land like 4 Pikmin on it, and they take an eighth of its health in 5 seconds. I just gotta do that 7 more times, and... Ah. I see. So, it turns out that the scariest part of this fight is actually where it takes place. Its choice of venue proves to be more annoying than frightening. You see, the Prog likes to do things like sit under your onions, but since I haven't carried anything back to base and have no Pikmin idling there for it to kill, it just sits there for a moment.
He's just standing there, menacingly.
And that would make for an easy opportunity to take off some of its health, but the onions just so happen to be blocking most of its face, which is the only place it's vulnerable and won't just immediately dissolve your Pikmin. Combine that with other mild inconveniences like nearby grass that your Pikmin just have to pluck, and the newfound annoyance of getting ship-cucked, and you have yourself a fight that kinda just sucks. Like, the Prog is just malicious in the way it's designed. As an example, I learned much later, after the fight, that when the Prog wails like this, it's supposed to uproot nearby planted Pikmin so that it can kill them too, even though usually you could rest assured that they would be safe. That's not something you implement into your game because you want to ramp up the difficulty. That's something you add specifically to ruin a child's day and haunt their memories. But luckily, I'm not a child. And as the adult that I am, my day was ruined from the moment I had to get out of bed. Which means, other than only a few lost Pikmin, the fight goes rather smoothly.
You are dead! Not a big surprise.
Anyway, let's collect this weird orb that the Prog dropped and...
It's raining men! Hallelujah! It's raining men! Amen!
And after the game warns me for the 5th and only time that I cannot have more than 100 Pikmin on the field, I can now say, conclusively, that I have finished Pikmin. And you know what? I think that I deserve a piece of candy for that. Well, I didn't do challenge mode, but who cares about challenge mode? I sure don't. Would have went straight to my thighs anyway. Oh, I never finished Pikmin 2 either.